Hi, Hamish Conway here, and welcome to another episode of TACOS Tuesday. This is episode 59, and today we're going to be talking about Amazon Australia and AMC use cases, which is a brand new thing that has come about in terms of the ease of use. But anyway, with me today is Sebastian, who's been running the show for the last two episodes while I had a bit of a break over in the Gold Coast, which was fantastic, apart from the hour plus long queues at the theme parks, but the things you do to keep the kids happy. And then coming back to Wellington, where it kind of went from 28 degrees to 8 degrees and raining. So kind of questioning my life choices about living living in Wellington. Anyway, so welcome again, Sebastian.
Good to have you back, refreshed, and you can't say you got a tan, but no. Maybe you needed a few more days to get the tan.
A few more days there. Too busy standing in queues under cover of things. But anyway, good. It was good fun. And actually, I spent half the month in Australia in September. Like actually three trips to Australia. So this month less so. Anyway, so look, let's dive in to this one. So Seb, do you want to give a bit of a summary here and around the change that happened here? And we're going to then dive into more detail on 6 of these use cases. There's 114 of them, but do you want to give a bit of a summary, and then we will share screen in terms of telling you where you can get to it. Obviously, for those listening, we'll make this relevant for you as well. It'll flow. We're not going into that much detail showing things on screen. Seb, give me the high level for people listening here, and then we'll dig down a few layers.
Yeah, so this is Amazon Marketing Cloud, which we've spoken about before. People use the abbreviation AMC, and Amazon recently rolled out that it's available in your advertising console, whereas before you had to actually request to get access to it, and you needed to, it was a bit of a clunky platform, and you kind of needed to know SQL, and actually that can still be beneficial. So the use cases that Hamish mentioned there, like no code solutions, but essentially Amazon Marketing Cloud is a huge database that you can query, and you can get anything as long as the data's in there, and you can think of the idea that you're trying to look for. It will be in there. You just need a way of shaping the data and putting it together, which is what the SQL language is for. But Amazon's made it a little bit easier now, where they've got what they call no code solutions. So you kind of just plug and play. Well, not quite plug and play, but pretty close to plug and play for finding out about different audiences and why they're important.
Yeah, that's right. So, and this is one of the really interesting things around Amazon ads in terms of the walled garden, as it's often referred to, and looking at the customer journey and what type of ads they are seeing before they make a purchase, or what activities are they doing before they purchase. And this is what AMC can give you more insight. And with the goal being here that you will be more efficient with your advertising spend, you'll know where to focus your advertising spend to get the best results, and any other key reasons why people should even be paying attention to AMC.
There's lots of reasons, and we're going to go over some of them with some of the examples today, but ultimately it is about being able to be more granular with what you're willing to pay or advertise towards based on the audience's interests or value to you.
Or behaviors.
Yeah, behaviors. Yeah. I mean, most of the behaviors lead into value, right? So it all kind of ties back to the value, and it's how valuable is that customer to you? There's certain customers that are not quite as valuable to you. There's some that are really valuable to you. So all paths will lead to segmenting those audiences into two groups of people that are super valuable.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
Good. All right. Well, look, let's share your screen.
Yep.
And we'll have a closer look. Do you want to point out to people where they can find this, and then we'll have a look at the 6 we've got up.
Yep. So in your advertising console here, you won't be able to see the name because it should be blurred by the time you guys see it. But over on the left-hand side, when you log into your Amazon, your AMS account, there'll be all these different sections. There's a section under measurement and reporting. And if you hit the drop-down arrow, you'll see a section called Amazon Marketing Cloud. Once you select that, that'll take you to the homepage, and then you can have a look through the different use cases. We've saved some favorites of the ones we want to talk about, but there's quite a lot of other ones that are available as well.
Yes, indeed. There were 114 or maybe 113 actually if we were being specific. That's covering DSP. So look, these ones that we're going to look at here are just relevant to sponsored ads because, a lot of the audience, well, everyone in the audience really will be using sponsored ads. Not everyone's using DSP because that requires a higher level of investment and there's still a lot of low-hanging fruit on the sponsored ads front. So we've got 6 of these here. So let's move through these. So the first one we've got is audiences that added to cart but did not purchase. So talk to that one.
We know that when people add products to cart, they become quite invested in the brand. There's a reason that they added to cart. They were quite far down the funnel. You may have paid for them with an ad to get them in, as in that they clicked on an ad and then added to cart. And so by knowing that group and how big that group is, you can start to obviously retarget that group, or you can decide to pay more for that group if they come back. So that the reason that one's powerful is the conversion rate on people or audiences that have added a cart and didn't purchase is really high because they're already super engaged with the brand. Now, there's probably a reason they didn't purchase, which you kind of need to figure that part out. But if they added to cart and didn't purchase, retargeting this audience is a great way of segmenting that into your advertising.
Excellent. So it's really down to retargeting. Now, how would you actually retarget them? So you come in here, you go, right, okay, that's useful, but what ad type do you use to retarget them? And how does that actually work in reality?
So Amazon's now made it, you can do it on any ad type. So you can do it with a sponsored product, sponsored brand, and you can add the audience. And they have a thing called a bid adjustment. It sits in the same place where your placement adjustment sits. So we've got placement adjustments, which is top of search, rest of search, and product pages. You'll now have an audience segment that's on top of that. So you'll still have your top of search, rest of search, product pages, but you'll also be able to be like, and on top of my placement adjustments, I also want to bid more for this particular audience as well.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be what you do so that you are going to show up for that audience and depending on whatever they are searching on.
Well, yeah, this is where it starts to get really interesting. So if me and you, Hamish, do if I've added a product to cart and you haven't, and we both search the same search term, I might get shown an ad because someone's retargeting me with a higher bid because I added to cart versus someone targeting you that they may have an actual higher bid than me, but on the actual audience, that smaller segment, they're bidding higher on me. And so the ad placements, if me and you both searched, would look very different because of those things. So yeah, it does add a bit more complexity to the whole thing. Once you get past that complexity and kind of have sorted that part out, which isn't that hard, then it does give you a lot more control.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so that's good clarity. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is interesting here around new to brand. So audiences of high value new to brand customers. Now, why is this important and how would you use this use case?
Yeah, so this one is really it's 2 things that we're trying to address with this audience type. And one is we want to know if the customer's new to brand and why that's important. It's important for a few reasons. One, if they're a new to brand customer and we're trying to promote lifetime value, we don't want to just acquire the customers we've already acquired before because we're probably doing some cannibalization in our sales there. So every time we acquire a new to brand customer, there's a chance that they'll become a lifetime subscriber or a lifetime value customer. So that's one piece of it. The second piece, which is the high value customer, is where we're saying, well, of all of the shoppers that we're getting, who spend the absolute most with us? So you're combining average order value there, where you're saying they spend a lot, plus they're new to brand. You've got that potent combo of incrementality because you know that it's a new to brand customer with the increased average order value and margin and all of that of a higher end or of a higher value customer. So it's a really powerful audience segment as well.
Okay. And so here, this audience, they are a new to brand customer. They've spent a higher than average value. So then the advertising to them would be about them buying again, maybe a different product, a complementary product, for example, or to subscribe and save if they hadn't done that, for example. So that's the sort of thinking that you'd be looking at for that type of audience.
Yeah, so an example would be, let's say you have a supplement that you sell and you've got a little starter pack that people can have that they test to see what it is, and then you've got a really big 50 serve or 100 serve pack that you can serve when people know that they like the flavor and they want to purchase it. If they purchase the small pack, then you could go on and target them with that much larger pack as an example. So
yeah, okay, very good. Or like from a dog food point of view, it could be a dog treats and then into freeze-dried dog food, for example, could be where you put that attention because there is some brand recognition as well, and therefore a higher probability of conversion into that, and therefore a better return on your ads investment is what we're looking for. Okay, kind of linked to that there, and we sort of touched on this in that last one, is subscribe and save repeat purchases. Now, what are we looking to achieve here out of this information from AMC?
Yep. So subscribe and save, same or similar principles. Obviously, we know lifetime value is a super important piece of Amazon. So knowing your subscribe and save numbers, but knowing where they came from. So did they come from organic? Did they come from paid advertising? The second purchase, was it from an organic or a paid after they after that first one? So what does that journey look like, and how is it made up? And the reason that's important, I suppose, is that you can start to tailor your advertising, because some of these are about building audiences and some of them are just about insights. And so there are differences where it's like sometimes you're building an audience, sometimes you're just building in insights to then go take actions. So that would kind of be this one.
Yeah, and so it could be, the number of your ads are, your subscribe and save customers are 75% from paid ads, for example. Okay, that's great. So we need to do more advertising around that, or that could be one of the choices. Or if it was low, only 20% is coming from paid ads, then you might need to re-examine what you're doing to acquire new subscribers.
Some products that are lower percentage than others, and you need to look at the percentages. You could also have some people that subscribe and save and never come back, so they just get the initial discount. They never stay as a subscriber and saver, and again, that could be by, like, certain ASINs might be worse than others. So that analysis would allow you to understand that subscribe and save is working really well for this one, but not for these products. Based on the data.
No, that's good. Excellent. All right, so that's 3. And then a fourth one here. Well, the first one was around adding to cart. This one here is around audiences with multiple detail page views. So how would we use this, and why is this important?
Yeah, this is kind of similar to the add to cart. It's probably, I would say, higher up the funnel, because add to cart's a bit more indicative of like intention. But if they've come and visited your detail page multiple times, there's a good chance they know about your brand. And again, just an easier audience to go retarget and spend a little bit more on your advertising with. You could say, okay, well, I'm willing to spend 20% more on this audience because they visited me two times or 3 times, and the chances of my conversion rate on that is probably going to be much higher than on someone that's visiting me for the first time. And that's really the main reason you do that. And
so, for example, what do you think you touched on it there. Is it 2 times? Is that multiple enough? Or is it 3 times or 4 times? What do you think would be relevant here?
The more times, the more, like, the higher the chances are that your conversion rate is better, because I think the more engagement, it's easier. But I will say that there is what I found here, because on AMC you have to have a minimum audience size to even go after them. If I think it's got to be 2,000 people or more, but realistically you probably wanted it around like 10,000 shoppers or more, because if the audience size is too small, the data is it's just too small to do anything with. So you do need to kind of, when you're doing these and setting these up, do have some parameters around it. In this example here, I think a good rule of thumb is 2 or more page views. So like 2 or 3, somewhere around there is a good rule of thumb. Yeah,
and there's probably an aspect here as well around the price of the product. If it's a higher consideration product, even if it's $50 or more or $100 or more, then people will potentially dwell a bit longer on that decision than if it's a $15 or even $25 price product. So again, you've got to be considering which ASINs you're looking at. Okay, that's good. Now, coming up very soon in this month of October, we've got the Prime Big Deals coming up in Australia. And then we're into the Black Friday deal week as well. So we've got some big tentpole events coming up. And we've covered this in the past, and even preparing for Prime Day, I think that was in the last podcast you did, Seb. So this one here is around tentpole phase overlap. Now, explain that technical term.
Yeah, last week's episode I mentioned about consumers adding to cart before the event. Now, a lot of that is is a theory.
Anecdotal.
Yeah, anecdotal. So we do want to back that up with data, and this in AMC allows you to go and actually measure that and see. Because the other thing is, even the little data we do have, so in like brand metrics, you can look at like category data and whatnot. It is category, and it is all of your ASINs, which means that there's probably some that do better than others. So in AMC, you can get much more granular there. There's clearly some products where people add it to cart. There's a hot demand for it, but they really want it on a deal, and so they're adding a lot of it to cart before the event. But it's not all of the catalog, and so you want to be able to separate those products to have a more specific strategy for the products that do benefit from that increased advertising before the event, bringing those add to carts. Whereas maybe there's other products that you do the same analysis for, and you find that you advertise more aggressively before the event, and there's no real uplift in add to carts, and then thus there's no real increase in conversions during the event, and so it's not really something to worth spending your time on that one.
Good. So I think that that's certainly going to be a really interesting one with feedback coming through very soon. Excellent. Okay. So last one we got here is new to brand gateway ASINs. So this is an interesting one here. So explain a bit more about this and how brands can use it.
Yeah. So this one is basically identifying which ASINs bring most customers into your brand, introduce them into the brand. So if you think about you have a product that someone buys, and then maybe an accessory goes with that product, and that accessory is a repeat, like a reusable bag or something that goes with the product. So this is a way, and you might have multiple ones, and you're not sure 100% which ASINs are the one that are bringing in those new to brand customers. With this analysis, and this one's more of an analysis piece, it's not an audience one, but here you can identify what ASINs are those ASINs that drive new to brand customers, and then from there you can build out advertising strategies based on that, because and then to get more sophisticated from here, you can then go, okay, when they do buy that, what do they go on to buy after that?
Yes.
And you can, and then if you start to pair some of that information together, you can start to say, well, actually, I can afford to pay a lot more for that gateway ASIN, that new ASIN they come on, because then they go on to buy 3, 4, it's that lifetime value piece again. But instead of looking at just that product in isolation, you're now looking at a combination of products together, like the gateway ASIN plus the repeat purchase product that comes with that gateway ASIN. So
that's really interesting, really smart. And again, it just informs a better strategy to be more effective with the ad investment that you've got, or to give you confidence to invest more, because you know that this is driving the right outcomes in terms of new to brand and lifetime value and through additional purchase. So look, that's only 6, and obviously we could go into a lot more detail on the rest, but I'd encourage you to go and have a look. So you go into Amazon Ads Console under Measurement and Reporting, you'll then find Amazon Marketing Cloud, and have a bit of a look, and see what may have already, you could be looking back historically. But if you want to have a conversation with Seb about what is happening with your existing advertising, and maybe even dive into some of this detail here, do that to have, first of all, like an audit looking back over the last 60 days to identify where there is some wasted spend, where there are mistargeting opportunities, and where you can get confidence and clarity in a strategy that is actually going to help you grow. And that is something that we're doing for free for listeners of TACOS Tuesday. So reach out to Sebastian at GoSellGlobal.com, or go to GoSellGlobal.com and look under services, advertising, and there you can make a time to connect with Seb. And whilst we've been using AMC, this update here does make it also easier. And so, for a lot of our clients, then this is forming a key part of strategy, particularly as we're into this Q4 period. Yeah, so it's great. It's exciting. And I think, it's another big reason for brands to be leaning more into Amazon ads from a new customer acquisition strategy. And again, there is that halo effect into your own D2C, but this is a great way to win on the Amazon platform and win with your brand overall. Anything else to summarize from your point of view, Seb?
No, good summary. Yep, it's lots of halo effect from this. And we didn't even touch on any of that, but that you can start to measure that as well.
True.
Instead of saying, we think there's a halo effect, you can actually be like, well, what is the halo effect?
Yes. Amazing. Yeah. Really exciting. Anyway, well, fantastic, Seb, and I look forward to catching up next week for the actually episode 60, which is going to be fun. Anyway, awesome. So thanks very much, people listening or watching. We do appreciate it. And if you could like, subscribe, and comment, all of those good things, would much appreciate it. So have a great week, and as always, TACOS is the number one measure ultimately for your ads. All right, thanks very much. All the best.